Welcome to the debate. The relationship between humans and domesticated animals, it's a really profound intersection of biology and social evolution. We've spent millennia forging these connections, emotional, psychological, even operational. But when you dig into the source material, a really specific question starts to emerge about the nature of that bond. So we have to ask, when we look at these incredibly deep and unique connections we share, is the dog-human bond, which I define by its co-worker partnership, loyalty, and objective utility, is that fundamentally more essential and transformative than the cat-human bond, which is more about familial dependency, emotional mirroring, and a really unique psychological identification?
That is a brilliant way to frame it. And I think it really forces us to nail down what we mean by essential. Because look, I completely agree that dogs offer a utility that is it's undeniable. But I'm going to contend that the true depth, the essence of a bond, isn't measured purely by output. It's measured by the level of sophistication in the psychological attachment model it creates. We're talking about integration, not just indispensable actions.
And that, right there, is exactly where we diverge. I'm going to argue that the evidence of a dog's functional indispensability and its historical partnership as a coworker, well, that establishes a connection so essential it's actually foundational to human society and our advancement. They're a pillar that a lot of our historical expansion rests on.
And I'll be countering that, the sheer psychological depth of the cat-human dynamic, where the human isn't seen as a master or even a colleague, but as a primary caretaker, a mother figure, or a deeply trusted member of the feline social group. That reveals a far more intimate, sophisticated, and personalized level of attachment.
Okay, so let's establish the history of partnership first. The dog-human relationship is at its core a pact of coevolution, and it's driven by survival. This isn't just something from the last 100 years. We have documentation going back over 2 millennia, especially with groups like the Siberian nomads and the Inuits. The terms of that ancient social contract were pretty clear: mutual survival through specialized labor.
A necessary functional agreement, I'll grant you that. But does that automatically make it a deeper, essential bond?
I think it becomes essential because of its objective utility, something that is still so evident today. I mean, look at the Greenland dogs. They're literal descendants of the ancient wolf genome, and they operate as the ultimate life insurance policy in the far north. Their ability to work, to survive in temperatures as low as minus 40 degrees Celsius, that's what made it possible to expand trade routes with sleds. They didn't just offer companionship, they literally enabled human migration. Their value is measurable, it's quantifiable, and that measurement, I think, proves their essential nature.
Measurable value, yes. But how does that translate to the depth of the connection?
It translates through specialization. And let's quantify it. The biological sophistication needed to get a 93% accuracy rate in cancer detection just by identifying these trace alkaline odors from tumor cells in breath or urine. That is an essential objective service no other species can match. Or think about cadaver dogs like Leah, who closed 8 critical police cases by detecting this incredibly complex chemical cocktail that's released during decomposition. This is life-saving, objective utility. It defines the dog as a strategic partner in our most critical endeavors. And beyond that, the cognitive capacity they use for this partnership is just unmatched. Take Chaser, the border collie. She learned the names of over 1,000 objects and even demonstrated an understanding of syntax and semantics, using 3 elements of grammar, like to, blue, take, powder puff.
This isn't just intelligence. It's intelligence directed toward and for the human agenda. And that changes the nature of the bond, from simple reliance to active collaboration. I do appreciate the data points on function, I do. But let me offer a perspective on the psychological foundation. If we're defining the essence of the connection, we have to look inward. The cat-human relationship is defined by this deep, unique psychological framework that really transcends utility. A cat doesn't categorize us as a separate, dominant species in the way a dog has to maintain a working partnership. Instead, they integrate us into their social map as a peer, a sibling, or most profoundly, as a mother.
But isn't that integration just predicated on the human providing all the resources? I mean, it sounds like a highly optimized dependency.
No, because the evidence goes so much further than the food bowl. This bond relies heavily on personalized, non-visual communication. Cats have muted color vision, their visual sharpness is relatively low. They don't really rely on recognizing our faces. They recognize us by our voice, our scent, our routines, and critically, our emotional energy. This is a personalized relationship forged through very nuanced interaction, not just general instinct or functional obedience. The fact that we see complex attachment styles, secure, anxious, avoidant, in cats, styles we normally use to describe infants and their caregivers, Well, that shows the bond isn't just transactional. It's a highly sophisticated, internalized psychological model where the human acts as an emotional anchor. When a cat needs or meows, behaviors that adult cats use almost exclusively with humans, they are literally reenacting that profound kitten-to-mother dynamic. That display of inherent emotional dependency and trust, not some external measurable output, is the essence of attachment.
I appreciate the concept of an emotional anchor, but that still sounds like a very sophisticated dependency. It's not a mutual partnership designed for survival and advancement. The necessity of the cat bond is, by your own admission, purely internal. The necessity of the dog bond is external, and it's foundational to our societal structure.
But why should external function automatically equal a deeper, essential connection? I mean, if a species offers this profound functional benefit, why isn't the dog-human bond just classified as a highly successful domestication, a superb mechanism for labor, rather than some essential psychological integration?
Because the co-working collaboration deepens the connection through that mutual effort. Dogs have proven themselves indispensable for human safety, for our advancement, for our survival. Consider the border collies managing huge sheep pastures, able to respond to commands from, 800 meters away? That is complex, sustained focus, using their hunting instinct for highly disciplined herding. Or the musher who has to walk alongside the sled, helping the Greenland dogs pull uphill. That demonstrates mutual effort and respect for a shared life-or-death goal. This functional necessity creates a bond deeper than just affection. It's a profound, mutually acknowledged obligation.
And I disagree that the internal psychological necessity is somehow less vital. If dogs are life insurance for the body, then cats are insurance for the human psyche. They act as emotional mirrors. They compensate for not having verbal language by tuning into the human's emotional frequency. They notice when you are sad or stressed, and they adjust their behavior, maybe curling up beside you more often. They even focus on the expressive right side of the human face, reading our moods just like we instinctively do with each other. This is an empathy that goes so far beyond utility. It's a commitment to maintaining the psychological stability of their home.
That empathy, though, it sounds reactive. The functional utility of the dog bond fosters a proactive, two-way, symmetrical partnership, which I would argue is the highest form of connection. The hormonal evidence backs this up. Oxytocin and dopamine are activated in both species when they stare into each other's eyes.
That effectively mirrors the profound chemical bond between a human mother and a newborn. It's chemical confirmation of a partnership built on tangible mutual trust. But chemical marrying doesn't just erase the asymmetrical power dynamic that's inherent in a working relationship, does it?
It does, when the trust is absolute and mutual. A musher trusts his dog as a life insurance policy, and that dog trusts the musher not to put them in unnecessary danger. And this trust isn't just for the ice. It's transformative in psychological contexts too. Look at those correctional facilities programs where dogs are paired with handlers, many of whom were struggling with impulsivity and rage. Training a complex animal like a dog forces the handler to manage their own behavior. The dog gives unconditional love, and in return, the handler learns impulse control and patience, which leads to genuine transformation and prepares them for re-entry into society. That mutual benefit is profound societal scaffolding.
I'm still not convinced that a two-way work dynamic, even one with societal benefits, is inherently superior to a profound foundational dependency built on vulnerability. The cat bond, while it seems asymmetrical, kitten to mother, is the ultimate display of vulnerability and trust. When a cat sleeps on a person, especially when it exposes its belly or presses against the chest, that is the ultimate act of faith. It is making itself maximally vulnerable to its perceived protector.
But isn't that vulnerability just acknowledging a hierarchy?
No, it's integration. The subtle social signals cats use, the slow blinks, the nuzzling, the headbutts, those are the exact same signals they use with other cats in their own established social bonds. So this means the human isn't just a caregiver or some beloved provider, they are accepted fully into the feline tribe. That is integration at a cellular level, a deeper psychological acceptance than simply being a highly valued colleague. The trust implicit in being seen as a protector mother is far more revealing about the essence of a deep, personalized connection. The dog's partnership is a highly successful cohabitation. The cat's connection is an internal, emotional adoption.
But we can't just overlook the cognitive sophistication required to facilitate that dog partnership. Their communication is sophisticated and it's actionable, which allows for complex collaboration. We know they process meaningful words in the left hemisphere of the brain and tone of voice in the right. They only feel truly appreciated when our words and our tone express praise. This complex interpretation allows for highly specialized work that serves an external measurable purpose.
But communication isn't always about actionable commands.
In a partnership, it has to be. Their extensive field of vision, about 250 degrees, makes them masters of tasks like herding, letting them instantly spot dangers around a flock. And the work with border collies like Chaser, demonstrating the ability to learn grammar and conceptualize 1,000 objects, that's hard evidence of intelligence specifically utilized for partnership. This intelligence is designed to work with us. And I'd argue the cat's intelligence is equally sophisticated, but it's focused on strategic adaptation within the social and emotional framework. Cats might not grasp the meaning of 1,000 words, but they absolutely pick up on how words are said, the tone, the pitch, the rhythm, and they associate that sound with an emotion and an outcome. Their communication is behavior-based. They interpret our body language with uncanny precision. A slow approach is non-threatening. Erratic movement is dominant. That sounds more like adaptation for comfort, not partnership for survival.
It's adaptation for social survival, which is a highly sophisticated form of intelligence. They show great strategic intelligence by constantly weighing up the consequences before they act. You know the famous example of Mario the cat who only waits to approach his food when his owner isn't watching him? He adapts his behavior based on what the human can perceive. That is a remarkable sign of strategic intelligence for a social learner. That intelligence is used to navigate the emotional landscape of the human, ensuring the relationship is stable. It's a subtle, personalized negotiation, which I think requires deeper emotional tuning than just following a grammatical command. The dog masters the external task, the cat masters the internal dynamic.
Ultimately, the transformative power of the dog-human relationship is validated by history, by objective utility, and by undeniable life-saving roles. Whether they are pulling us across the Arctic, protecting our flocks, or detecting disease with surgical accuracy, the dog is an essential pillar of human civilization. It provides a societal scaffolding that extends far beyond being an emotional luxury.
And yet, the cat-human bond is just as transformative, though it is internally focused. It's a unique, profound psychological attachment. The human provides the fundamental emotional foundation by being perceived as a mother or a peer, a relationship that hinges on trust, vulnerability, and deep emotional mirroring. This reveals that affection in cats is intensely personalized and sophisticated, proving that the bond is one of profound psychological necessity. So what we're seeing are two very distinct evolutionary paths. One is defined by shared labor, measurable results, and societal integration. And the other is defined by a deep psychological integration and nuanced, highly personalized affection. Both connections are truly remarkable, and they define unique interspecies relationships that compel us to keep exploring the nuances within this material, showing us the true breadth and depth of interspecies emotional life.